Hey everybody. So today I'm going to show you guys how to color correct footage that's been shot in a studio. Here's the shot. It's a Thanksgiving bumper. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Play it down for you here. So it's a pretty standard shot. Gene Levanchi is our main morning anchor. Sarah Underwood is also our morning anchor. And we shot them in front of our monitor wall. Now, this area has been lit. We do the newscast from here every single day. This has really been designed to be photographed. People ask, well, what are you going to do to this shot? It was shot in a lit studio. Why would you mess around with it? Well, it's for a promo. We can give it a little more punch. The first thing I noticed about this is the floor. If you look at the scopes, there's the red being crushed. There's the blue being crushed. It's a little bit green. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a shape. And I'm going to put it over this floor just to see what I'm up against. If you look at the scopes, it's not black and the color's a little bit off. So I'm going to adjust my lift here. Even those three out, I'm going to bring it down. Let's take a look at what we got. And now we're getting somewhere. Our blacks are crunched, they're crushed. And when we do that, because it's been lit properly, it gets that floor nice and shiny. Bring up the highlights, bring up the mids, but I'm really kind of crunching down those blacks. And let's play it again, see what we got. It's stuttery because our sand is almost full. It's looking a little better, except of course for our talent who are now obviously too dark. So I'm going to add another node and I'm going to draw a circle around them. And I need to track this circle because if you look at the shot, it's kind of going all over the place. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what should you track here? What am I going to put that tracker point on? I'm going to try to find something that's reasonably consistent. Obviously, the BAM isn't consistent. It's moving all over the place. The background isn't consistent. What is pretty consistent is Gene's tie here. So I'm going to focus on Gene's necktie for two reasons. Number one, it's not moving that much. Gene is kind of staying in there. Obviously, I couldn't track his hand or his head because it's kind of bouncing all around. And I can't track anything in the background or the foreground because it's a jib shot, so we have a lot of big sweeping jib moves. But if we look here on Gene's tie, it's moving nicely. It's not bouncing all around. It's not too big of a movement. It's not too small of a movement. So I'm going to try to track it. So I'm going to go to my tracker. I'm going to track the window. I need the X movement, left and right, up and down. Pan is left and right. That's the X-axis. Y is tilt, that would be up and down. Zoom is Z or Z. If you're watching this in Europe, it goes in and out, zooming in and out. Rotate, I'm not going to track rotate. And the reason I'm not going to track rotate is because I don't need it to spin this way, all right? Basically, I need this thing to move left, right, up and down and get a little bit bigger as Gene gets closer to us. And I'm going to turn off 3D as well. I just need this shape to track to Gene. And you'll see why in a second. Let's track it. Now, I've tracked the shape to Gene, like so. It's sticking with him. Now I can make it bigger. Bring that out, and I'm going to soften it. And this is a crucial step, and you'll see why in a moment. But I need that softened. I want to make sure their faces are in there. So watch the circle. Stays with them quite nicely. And I am going to bring up the gamma and gain. Gene and Sarah are a little bit brighter. They're probably the same luminance they were when I started, but I just made everything darker in the first node. And I'm going to add an outside node. So this node affects our talent inside the circle. And this node, this little blue thing, means matte. It's affecting everything outside of the circle. Now we can go crazy and do this, right? And it would just be them. Let me play it so you can see what it looked like. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that. I just played it to show you what's going on. And to also explain that when you draw circles like this and track them and they start moving around, it's really critical that you feather it and you keep an eye on it. Because what happens, it'll end up looking like a hacky spotlight. And it will look really terrible. I'm going to blur it some more. I'm going to play it down. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to bring down the lift and gamma on the outside node just to crush those blacks a little bit more. Maybe I'll bring some gain down too. I want to really accentuate and have Gene and Sarah pop off that screen like I've relit them. So let's look at what we came from. And this is where we're at. The picture is a lot more saturated. Your eye is drawn to Gene and Sarah more because everything around them has been blacked out. Now, you can kind of sort of, if you go real fast, see I'm moving it fast, you can kind of sort of see that shape following Gene there on the left-hand side of Gene. But when you play it in real time, you don't really see it. Well, I'm looking at this, and we've accentuated our primary morning show talent, but the words Happy Thanksgiving are getting kind of lost. So I'm going to put a node after this node here. I'm going to remind us at the beginning. I'm going to draw a custom shape around the word Happy Thanksgiving. And I'm going to track this shape. There's a lot going on. So when I track this, I need pan, tilt, zoom, rotate, and 3D. I need to track everything. So the shape has been tracked actually quite well. I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to start to blur this shape quite a bit. And what I can do is I can make the gamma and gain higher, and it's just affecting inside that mask. Obviously, that's a bit much. But I can bring that up. Now, if you look on the scopes, obviously that yellow is pinned, it's getting clamped. The resolve, it's nice, it does clamp automatically. You can turn that off, but not for broadcast. I leave that on. It's clamping. You can see, watch it hit. It's hitting that wall. Don't particularly care that much that it's clamping. It's a graphic. It's going to be a little hotter. So if we look, we turn this node off and on. That's with the node off. This is with it on. So now we can see our talent quite nicely, and the graphic we can see quite nicely. Let me play it back here, see what it looks like. Now we're getting somewheres. So I'm looking at this a little more closely, and Sarah, probably because Gene is a big guy, I think he's 6'3", he seems to be shadowing her face a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a node here. Now watch what happens when I add this node. This is node-based compositing. So here's my first color correction where I crunched it up. Here's my second color correction where I made the talent a little bit brighter. I'm adding a third color correction before this outside node. This node here is where we made outside of the circle a little bit darker. But before it hits this node, I want to brighten up Sarah's face a little bit. So I'm going to draw a circle, put it around her face. I'm going to turn the softness off. I think it messes up the tracker when you have softness on. I'm not 100% sure. I've gotten better results turning softness off when I track. Could be in my head. Okay, so I've made this window fit Sarah's face here. Now I have to decide what to track. Do I want to track left and right, the pan of the shot? Yes, pan is left and right. Do I want to track the tilt of this shot? Up and down? Absolutely. Do I want to track the zoom? Yes. As Sarah gets closer, I want that circle to get a little bit bigger. Do I want to track rotation on this? No, because I don't care if it's doing this. I'm going to turn rotation off, and I'm also going to turn 3D off, which will rotate the mask in 3D space. I can't show it to you because there's no way for me to move this mask in 3D space that I know of. Way too complicated for what I'm doing here. I'm going to track Sarah's face. I'm going to go to the beginning and play it back. Now, the circle is kind of, it's like breathing. It's getting bigger. It's getting smaller. That's the zoom function of this mask. That's like super distracting. So I'm going to turn that off and track it again. Okay, got to break a few chickens to make an omelet. All right, so it's not working. I'm just going to reset the track and only turn pan and tilt on. I don't know why it does that. Maybe someone could comment, but I'm going to play it again. So I seem to be having some problems resetting this tracker. So I've reset the tracker. I've blown everything out. Tracker's been cleared. I'm going to try track it again. All right, that's a little bit better. I'm going to go back. Turn the softness on. Make this thing a little bit bigger. Now, again, when you start doing luminance adjustments with windows like this, you really have to watch it, because you can very easily overdo it. I'm going to click off this node here so we can see Sarah's face. I've overdone it, obviously. I've made it way too bright. But the point is, when you track a circle like that and you adjust luminance, you really have to make sure you're not haloing or there's some kind of halo effect around your talent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to reset all my correctors. And I'm just going to make it a little bit brighter. I'm going to move my gamma and my mids up a little bit. So if you look, that's off, that's on. Probably still a little bright. I've just given her face a little bit more luminance. Her face is a little bit brighter because she's literally standing in Jean's shadow on the set. Off, a little dark, a little dingy, on. A little more light on her face. So we've done quite a bit to this shot. I'm going to add a node here just so I don't have to look at all these shapes all the time. Click on that node. This is what we started with. And again, nothing really wrong with this shot. But this is where we ended up with. A lot more rich, a lot more dynamic, a lot more contrasty. Now I'm looking at this shot and I notice there's some bright spot there on Jean's head. That's a little distracting. And I'm going to fix it right in here. I'm going to add another node. So these two nodes are coming before this big circle node. This node here was crushing everything on the outside. I want to add Jean's face fix before the stuff on the outside got crushed. So let me see if I can fix it. I'm going to do a qualifier on Jean's face. And I just want the highest highlights of Jean's face, which would be there. I'm going to try to track a mask, which is right here. See how it goes. And it tracked quite well. So you can see it tracked that hot spot on Jean's head. And I can look, and it's just going to affect those pixels. So whenever you draw a mask like this, you always want to blur it out. Blur the edges out a little bit. Like so. And then in the key, I think if we do a clean white, there we go. And blur it just because I can. So that's that little white spot on Jean's head where it's a little hot spot. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see what we can do. I'm just adjusting my gain control, and I'm basically what I'm doing is we have that white spot on Jean's head there. I'm putting color into that white spot. I'm basically tinting that white spot. Now, when you do this, you got to be really super careful because it can not work. And when it looks wrong, it looks really forced and fake. And the last thing you want to do is have that happen. See, like something like that? Yeah, that's not going to work. So that's what we started with, and that's what we've corrected. A little too red. It's definitely a balancing act. You don't want it to look fake. I'm not happy with it. It takes a couple tries. Let's see. And try to put some more color in there. So after much noodling, I have come up with this. This is the fix. You can look at Jean's head. What I'm looking for is, are there any artifacts? Have I made it too bright? Have I made it too dark? Does the color of the skin that I made match his skin tone? So this is with it, and that's without it. Fix. No fix. So it definitely helped. It didn't cure it. It didn't solve the problem. It didn't take it away entirely, but it definitely helped that shiny spot on his head. So I hope that helped you guys. I will play this 5-second ID in all its 5-second ID glory for you guys at the end of the video here. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. And happy correcting, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
From all of us here at Boston 25 Morning News.